we were Cub Scouts together. And I think I have a picture of him in it when we created a fake minstrel show. Nobody wore blackface, thank goodness. So anyway, um, and in Scouts, we of course did a lot together. We went on campouts to a lot of places. Did a couple of Potosi, had one camporee there, and our patrol came. I think we won first place, which was probably the first and last time we ever did something like that. We went to Bonanza. I think he was along on the Bonanza trip. We did some flashlight wars. The first time anybody, at least in our circle, ever thought of that. Late at night, running around, and we also camped out at Red Rock, usually it's Calico Basin, and I do distinctly remember Clark and me and others, of course, but particularly Clark, uh, hiking around, climbing up those rocks and all about, and staring death in the face, which your brother Kenneth really did, as you recall. He fell off the cliff there, and it was one of the fun things we used to do is the Park Service that offers transportation for service work. And so we'd agree to clean up the beaches on the far side of Lake Mead, and they'd put us in their boat, and we would haul over there in the boat, and they'd leave us there overnight. I don't know what anybody thought would happen if somebody got seriously hurt. There was really no option. There was obviously no cell phone or anything. One of those, well, what we do, we go over with our camp and stuff. We camp out, and one of the menu items, I don't know if Clark remembers this, but was what I now call rock bottom casserole. You boil up some rice and you put in a can of tuna fish and a can of Campbell's vegetable soup, and mixed it up, and that was dinner. And I thought it was really good. Of course, I did grow up in a family with 8 kids and about a 900 square foot house, so lots of things would be good by those standards. One time, and I want to say it was Jim Goff, I think it was Jim Goff, built a catapult. I'm not talking about a little one, I'm talking about one that the base was out of 2x4 is about 4 feet. Yeah, it's probably about 4 feet square and a triangular superstructure, and it was powered by car inner tube rubber bands, and it had a basket on it and a swing arm, and that thing was vicious. It was deadly. If you got your finger in the way, it'd have mashed your hand. But what we did was we set it up on the bank, and he had a bunch of rocks wrapped in wire and old rags, and he brought some gasoline along. And so he soaked those cloth covered rocks in gasoline, put them in the basket on the thing, lit it on fire, and then we'd catapult them out over the lake. And it was way awesome. It was like a giant meteorite coming in and landing in the lake with a big splash, So Clark, I'm sure, remembers that. And I don't know, I want to say we made 2 or 3, maybe 4 of those trips over there. It was kind of a once a year kind of a thing. And of course, we come back, and the Park Service boat would just have these big stacks of garbage bags with cans and old bottles and stuff in it that we'd collected on the beach. One of those crossings, the wind was up, and that boat was just going like this. And we were all loving that. It was like being on a wet roller coaster. It was a blast. Probably my favorite one was to have a supai. And yeah, I'm almost, yeah, Clark was on that one. We drove over there, I want to say around 1968. We drove over to the trailhead, and of course it was relatively undiscovered at that point. Now everything's all paved, and they have little concession stands and all that, and you have to register like a year in advance in order to even hike in. But we get there, and it was just kind of a free-for-all. We packed up and hiked in and camped out at the waterfalls, and base of the waterfalls. If we didn't have any other place to go or didn't have transportation, we go out past the rifle range to what I later I think was named Boy Scout Canyon. I don't know if it was named that at the time, but you'd hike down that, and you come to essentially a dry waterfall. You had to have a rope to get down there unless you were really good at rock climbing. You climb down and go out, and there was a kind of a little beach area right there on the Colorado River, and we would camp out there and sometimes fish and play in the water. And there were some hot springs up the little draw there, and so we did that quite a few times. And it was oftentimes, in fact, we even did it one time just ad hoc. It wasn't even a scout thing. My dad came along on that one, and it was I and Clark. Let me see if I remember John. I think my brother Kevin was along. There were a couple other folk kids. I don't remember who they were. and we camped out there, and it ended up being a dry camp because we ran out of water. And I don't know, some of us started to panic. I think my dad even was a little bit worried about it. We got lost hiking around in the canyons. It's easy to do.